The assault on Norman's bunker began, and Norman was shocked to hear screams and gunshots coming from outside. A full assault began, and the Vulture brought the fight to outside Central Park. As Spider-Man Noir fought with the Vulture took a woman as hostage as his last resort. Spider-Man Noir was surprised to see that the woman was his Aunt May. Distraught, Spider-Man Noir took out his pistol and shot the Vulture, killing him. The woman was shocked and scolded Spider-Man Noir for being as bad for shooting an unarmed man when he could have overpowered and captured the Vulture instead. Spider-Man Noir knew that he had no time to waste left Aunt May to continue fighting against the others. With most of Norman's goons killed, there were only Norman and Kraven the Hunter left. Punisher, Blade, and Spider-Man took out most of the goons already. Making his way to the bunker, Spider-Man Noir was attacked by Kraven the Hunter, who was on the verge of death after being shot by Punisher several times. Kraven was easily overpowered and died from his wounds eventually. Confronting Norman, Spider-Man Noir aimed his gun at his head. Norman taunted him that he's no different than all of them, as he would take someone's life. Spider-Man told his counterpart that with great powers come great responsibilities. He doesn't have to kill his enemies, and true justice would always prevail. Remembering what his Aunt May said, Spider-Man Noir threw away his gun and punched Norman until he passed out. He decided that Norman Osborn will stand trial and the truth will become public record. He thanked the trio for helping him out and gave him the fragment of the Forever Crystal to Spider-Man. Spider-Man Noir said that he will always remember the quote, "With great powers comes great responsibility," and he will try to live up to being a superhero that doesn't kill his enemies, but rather use real justice. Spider-Man said that he would want to fight side by side with him one day if a chance ever exists, and took the artifact. Spider-Man, Punisher, and Blade took the fragment and touched it. A bright light started glowing from the fragment, and the trio were teleported back to their timeline. They woke up and saw the some of the New York's buildings were destroyed, and the helicarrier crashed in the middle of New York. They knew that they needed to find the others quick. In President Rogers' timeline, the Fantastic Four, King Thor, and Steve Rogers were still brainstorming on how to return back to their timeline. President Rogers said that he would check up on Tony. He went to the room where Tony was kept and questioned him on whether Tony has any regrets for his actions so far. Tony said that regret and sorrow were useless, for it was too late. He said that he only realized what he did was bad when he was on the verge of death and Kang saved him. President Rogers said that it was bullshit, as their actions have not only killed many people, but destroyed many people's future. And now, with these heroes trapped in this timeline, they might be trapped forever. President Rogers then attacked Tony, as he was furious on his actions. Tony retaliated and fought back, punching back at President Rogers. The Fantastic Four, King Thor, and Steve Rogers heard the commotion and rushed to the room. Just then, Tony accidentally touched the stones of Merlin, which was hanging around President Rogers' neck. He saw a vision, or what seemed like another reality, where he had a beautiful wife and a loving daughter. They were having fun together peacefully at their own home. Tears came flowing down Tony's cheeks as he saw another reality where he had a family and people he cared about. President Rogers stopped hitting him when he saw that Tony was crying and screaming. President Rogers knew that it was not the physical pain that was tormenting Tony, but rather mental pain and anguish. The Fantastic Four and the rest came into the room and wanted to restrain Tony, but President Rogers said that everything was fine. Tony then told them that he saw in another reality that he had a family and people he loved. While his sins of what he did in his previous timeline cannot be erased, he will try his best to fix things back. Tony then said that there was indeed a way for them to go back to their original timeline, but he's not able to do it alone and will need the help of the others, especially the Brainiac of Fantastic Four, Reed Richards. In our original timeline, the X-Men received reports that there were reports of a large robotic legion of soldiers appearing from the portal. Charles said that they appear to resemble Scarab fighters and robotic drones. It seems that Kang has appeared, and his domination conquest has began for real. With a huge legion of robotic armies, Charles said that the battle has begun. He ordered his X-Men to be on the front lines with Daredevil, Elektra, Hulk, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, the remaining S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and Doctor Strange to try their best to fight off the robot legions. A full battle assault happened in New York, and as the Scarab fighters and Kang's robotic drones were reduced in numbers, they used a new trick. Storm used her lightning power to provide aerial support for the others, while Colossus and Hulk did the heavy hitting against the bigger robots. Kitty Pryde phased herself and destroyed the robots from inside out, while Cyclops, Iceman, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, and Doctor Strange took out the remaining Scarab fighters. Rogue and Beast were helping to evacuate the other civilians who were caught in the crossfire. Kang's armies were armed with modern armor and weaponry as himself, and was in an intense battle with the heroes. Just as Kang's armies were starting decreasing, the Scarab fighters combined into a gigantic centipede-like things and started overwhelming the X-Men and Avengers. The Avengers and X-Men rolled out once again, but it took the combined efforts of all of them just to take out just one of them. On the brink of defeat, Nick Fury knew that they cannot win without an army. As the huge centipede robots were about to crush the exhausted heroes, a huge missile came blowing the robot apart. A few more centipede robots received the same fate. Nick Fury saw a battle van charging at the robots with Spider-Man and Blade carrying rocket launchers. He saw the Punisher driving the battle van as they charged into the robots. The trio started shooting and destroying the robots. Wolverine said that the cavalry took too long to arrive, but nevertheless was glad that they came back. Hulk launched several thunderclaps to blow away the centipede robots. As they were able to temporarily hold Kang's armies, the heroes regrouped and wanted to decide the next course of action. Just then, they saw several round, huge balls dropping down across New York. They seemed like hatches, and it opened up. Emerging from the hatches was Kang's Second Legion, an army he amassed across galaxies and from different timelines. The heroes watched in horror as an estimated 100,000 armies emerged, according to one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Kang emerged from his spaceship and made an announcement that his spaceship, the Damaloki's base, has started charging a powerful energy weapon that is able to obliterate all the heroes and people in New York. With defeat seemed at hand, Kang told the heroes to surrender and be his subjects. That way, he will spare their lives. Just then, Kang was shot with a huge repulsor ray, taking some damage with his armor. He heard a familiar voice saying, "Not so fast, Kang. Your rule of tyranny has ended." Kang was shocked to see Tony Stark, the Fantastic Four, Steve Rogers, and King Thor there. Kang asked how they managed to return back to this timeline. A flashback showed that Tony said they needed to develop a time travel device to go back to their timeline. He said that Kang managed to time travel after he discovered a time platform from his ancestors. That technology allowed him to time travel and conquer worlds easily. During his years helping out Kang, Tony had been secretly studying the time platform and managed to unlock his secrets. However, only Kang was able to use the technology for some reason. Just before Tony was able to replicate his device, Kang set his coordinates to attack this timeline, preventing him from further developing the device. Using the technology and knowledge of Hydra, the current scientist, Mr. Fantastic, and Tony himself, they eventually created the null time sequencer that allows to easily move through time. However, it comes at a risk, that it can only be used once, and if they were lost in the time travel, they will be gone forever and have no way of returning forever. Just before they were about to time travel, President Rogers gave Steve Rogers the Captain America shield. He said that he needs to be Captain America again in his timeline, and that he doesn't need it. If he ever was able to return again, he can always return the shield to them. He said seeing a young Steve Rogers reminded him of his youth again, and that he will continue fighting and be the President of the United States that was once loved by his subjects. The heroes then used the null time sequencer and managed to arrive back to the original timeline. Kang then laughed and applauded them for their success. He says that not that it matters, as they all will perish too. Kang said that they are heavily outnumbered. Tony then summoned his Iron Man suit from Kang's spaceship, as his previous was destroyed during the fight against President Rogers, and reprogrammed all the Iron Legion to obey his orders. With over 1,000 Iron Legions at his command, the Avengers and X-Men charged against Kang and his army. Iron Man then told King Thor that Kang's spaceship has been charging up a powerful energy blast to wipe out all of them. It's just a matter of minutes before the energy blast will reach New York. As Kang's spaceship was in space, only he and King Thor could fly above space to neutralize the threat. Kang saw that Iron Man and King Thor were charging towards his spaceship. Kang changed the course of the powerful blast that was charged towards New York onto Thor and Iron Man. If he could take out both of the heavy hitters, then his world domination would be easier. On Earth, Captain America teamed up with Elektra, Daredevil, and Spider-Man to take down Kang's foot soldiers while the X-Men were battling the huge centipede robots. Punisher tried launching missiles and rockets, but even his ammunition was running low. Doctor Strange was using his mystic arts to hold off Kang's air support troops. The Avengers agreed that God Emperor Doom was even stronger, but Kang's overwhelming number of soldiers were too much for them. Hulk was enraged and started running berserk across New York to battle one of Kang's humanoid, the Growing Man. Wolverine joined Ghost Rider on his bike to cut down the other foot soldiers. They later teamed up to take down the Growing Man with the Fantastic Four. Reed termed it as the Growing Man, as the more they hit the stimuloid, the bigger he grew. The Growing Man started to grow even bigger than the Hulk himself. With most of their hands full at deck, and King Thor and Iron Man battling Kang in space, Reed knew that he had to figure out a solution. Mr. Fantastic told the others to try to stalling the Growing Man while he tried to devise a means to reverse the process that is enabling the Growing Man that was enlarging its own size. As the Growing Man was enlarging, Reed saw that he grew over 50 meters tall, towering over New York. The Growing Man was still growing, but it was immobilized. Reed took a sample of the Growing Man and analyzed his molecule structures. He went back to the X-Mansion and quickly devised a serum that might be able to reduce his size back to its original size. Captain America and other heroes joined Hulk and the rest when they have mostly defeated of Kang's soldiers. Reed eventually returned to where the Growing Man was. He injected the serum into the Growing Man, causing it to shrink. They wanted to continue fighting with the Growing Man as he shrank, but Reed said it's not necessary, as the Growing Man shrank until it perished as an atom. He said he managed to reprogram the Growing Man's molecular structure to reverse it. King Thor told Iron Man to dodge the blast and try to find a way to hack into Kang's spaceship while he will try to absorb the blast somehow. Tony agreed, as King Thor might be able to tank the damage from the blast while he summoned his Iron Legion to further charge his suit. Tony wanted to gain a powerful, massive processing power to hack into the Damocles systems in hopes of gaining control of the entire spaceship. On Earth, the Avengers and X-Men were still battling with Ultron's armies when Nick spotted a bright light charging down towards Earth. The energy blast struck King Thor, but having the power of the Thor Force, King Thor managed to deflect back the blast to the Damocles, damaging it heavily. King was surprised that King Thor was able to tank such a damage, but King Thor himself was badly wounded. He aimed his cannon blasters at King Thor in hopes of neutralizing him for good, but the Damocles was suddenly hacked and he lost control of it. Kang saw Iron Man enter the spaceship and shot a repulsor ray at Kang, blasting him across the room. Iron Man said that the Damocles was already taken over by him, and without his spaceship, Kang was powerless. Kang grabbed his energy gun and started firing at Iron Man, incapacitating him temporarily. Kang said that Iron Man was ungrateful for giving him a second chance at world domination, but used it to betray him. Iron Man said that he was done being the bad guy and that he will use this chance as a redemption at life. Kang and Iron Man continued battling before Iron Man received a transmission from Nick Fury that their forces are being overwhelmed on Earth and he needs to do something quick to defeat Kang. King Thor crashed into the spaceship, causing even more severe damage. Kang, realizing that defeat might be possible, wanted to retreat to this time chair that allowed him to time travel. By going back in time, he would be able to defeat the Avengers and X-Men. It seems that he has underestimated their strength. Iron Man told King Thor that since Kang brought his armies from the near future, the only way to completely defeat them is to either kill Kang or send him back to his original timeline. But with the time chair, he can always teleport back and forth. King Thor used the Mjolnir to summon the Thor Force, something which has been missing from him all this fight, but with his strong desire to defeat Kang, King Thor managed to sustain enough power of his Thor Force. He told Iron Man to move out of the way, as they were still battling. Kang thought that Iron Man has retreated and ran to his Kang chair to start programming himself to another time. King Thor then channeled all of his Thor force into the Damocles and Kang eventually blasting them apart. Kang was disintegrated amidst the blast, and his spaceship exploded in space. On Earth, Kang's minions were also seemingly perished as they came from Kang's timeline. The Avengers and X-Men stopped fighting when they realized that Kang was defeated. Iron Man and King Thor returned back to Earth and met up with the other heroes. Although they were victorious, New York suffered a huge toll and damage with hundreds of civilians and soldiers killed in the battle. It remains a grave threat, as someone like Kang could always appear again. Nick Fury offered a place for King Thor to be with the Avengers, but he declined. Just then, a portal from the Bifrost opened up. King Thor said that he needs to return to his duties as a king, and that with Heimdall opened back the Bifrost, this meant that Heimdall saw that Kang was defeated. King Thor then returned to Asgard, but said that if the Avengers ever needed help, he would be glad to help them. Steve Rogers was reinstated as the official Captain America again. Spider-Man asked what happened to the Forever Crystal. Iron Man said that the Forever Crystal fragment, which was the cause of the timeline divergence originally, has been destroyed after Kang exploded. As the artifact belonged to him, destroying Kang caused the Forever Crystal's core to be shattered for good. Reed Richards said that he will research more on the Null Time Sequencer, as that was the only time travel device, but it was destroyed after they returned back to the timeline. The Fantastic Four then left. Nick approached Tony and asked if he would want to be a part of the Avengers. Tony said that a part of him would feel guilty for his past crimes in his other timeline, but the other part of him wants to redeem himself. He said that he would be more than happy to provide support to the Avengers in the form of his Iron Legion so that they would be prepared for any future threats. As he was immortal due to the resurrection elixir, this was seemingly the best option. With Kang defeated and the helicarrier destroyed, Tony later teamed up with the other scientists to construct the Trioskelion as the new base of S.H.I.E.L.D. The X-Men, who were now part of the Avengers, eventually have routine practice with the Avengers in their training rooms. The X-Men were even joined by the New Mutants. Daredevil, Elektra, and Punisher returned to Hell's Kitchen, while Spider-Man remained in New York. Dr. Strange said that he needed to return to the Sanctum Sanctorum quickly, as the other Guardians were reported of a powerful cosmic entity approaching. Hulk, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider joined the X-Men in their practices, while Blade went back to vampire hunting. Nick Fury gave each of them a gadget that would allow him to immediately be in touch with them, compared to the previous times where they were all separated. In the other timelines, King Thor was rebuilding back Asgard with Loki and the others, while President Rogers managed to restore peace to the United States of America. Spider-Man Noir no longer used guns when crime fighting, as he knew that with great powers came great responsibilities. Nick Fury said that the Avengers have once defended Earth from grave threats, and this time, with the X-Men as part of their team, they will be even more than prepared. In a distant galaxy, Uatu the Watcher watches as a cosmic entity has just devoured another planet. Uatu says that at last, the consumer of worlds and destroyer of planets, will arrive in this world.